say amen. It is good to be with you, sharing on this 130th anniversary to the saints who worship here, St. John's, to Pastor, First Lady Hudson. Let's give God. Sometimes in our churches, we kind of take it for granted when the man of God is consistent. We just assume that everybody has the kind of pastor that we have. The St. John's, if you don't hear anything else I say today, I want you to know that you have been blessed. Amen. With a true gift from God. Your pastor is one of the rocks in the Christian community of the Black Church, Williamsburg. If you see him today, he's going to be just like he is right now. If you see him tomorrow, he's going to be the same. So we appreciate the relationship, the friendship that we share. The ministers who embrace the pulpit with me, honor and bless God for you. And I am tremendously blessed, grateful to have been in the presence of these young dancers. And all of our kids are not out on the street running crazy. Great number of children in all of our churches who are excellent students. Good children. Amen. I think often we tend to focus so much on what's not right that we forget to celebrate those who are striving to do right. Amen. And so can somebody shout hallelujah? Little ones can do it. But when the little ones can get it in, I know that the older ones are talking. Thank you. I appreciate my ministry that's traveled with me, CBC. Amen. I thank you for our ministers who are here, our officers, family, music ministry. We thank you. I am locked and loaded. Amen. I just got a few verses scratched down on paper. But I know that I heard very clearly from the Holy Spirit. Hallelujah. And then when I sat down, to speak to your pastor. The first words out of his mouth were confirmation of what the Lord wants me to preach. Before I get into the message of the text, I want to thank all of those folk in the back. Amen. Hospitality either is in you or it's not. Amen. And from the time I hit the door, man, they were taking my order, getting me seated, 3 or 4 people. Amen. Were tempting me. They kept asking me, Reverend Ashton said, you want fried chicken or you want baked chicken? I said, I want fried. Jesus. Second temptation came up. Pastor, you won't fry or bake? I started saying, loose your hold, devil, loose your hold. But I appreciate the kindness in the back. Amen. And I spotted that sister who loaded me up with all that food. I see you sitting over there. I ain't gonna point you out. But I told her, I said, now see, you giving me all this food, and then as soon as I fall asleep in the pulpit, you're gonna be pointing at me. I said, look at it, don't make no sense. Preach your sleep. Amen. I held it down. Amen. But if you would, I want you to turn with me to Nehemiah chapter 6. I have a word. When you find it, amen, we ask that you stand in honor of God's word. I want to give you a blueprint for this millennial ministry. Give you a blueprint for this millennial ministry. Amen. Nehemiah chapter 6. Starting in verse 1, it says, now what happened when Sanballat, Tobiah, Gershom, the Arab, and the rest of our enemies heard that I had rebuilt the wall, and that there were no more breaks left in it, though at the time I had not hung the doors at the gate, that Sanballat and Gershom sent to me, saying, come, let us meet together among the villages in the plain of Ono. But they thought to do me harm. So I sent messengers to them, saying, I am doing a great work, so that I cannot come down. Why should the work cease while I leave it and go down to you? But they sent to me this message 4 times, and I answered them in the same manner. You may be seated. There's a little plaque that sits on the desk in my office at church that I picked up at TJ Maxx, and when I saw the little plaque and what it said, I just knew that I had to have it. And anyone who enters my office, if they're paying any attention to their surroundings, they see this plaque that says, can't stop, won't stop. We are living in a time when it's imperative that the church stands the forefront and takes her rightful place. We see our world in turmoil. People are worried, nervous, wringing their hands. Suicide rate is at an all-time high. There's been a tremendous spike in suicide among African American youth. And everybody is looking for somebody, just anybody, that can make a difference in the land. Many of us assume that when Barack Obama became the first African American president, that things were just going to somehow be all right. And when he was unable to do all those things that you dreamed he would do, you soured on him. Lord help me. And so by virtue of election, we end up with somebody who, I don't know where he came from, but somebody who showed us that it is not as bad as it can get. And in the midst of this, we divided ourselves. Amen. We fight among our neighbors and friends along political lines. We think the Bloods and the Crips are bad. You start talking Democrat and Republican, you subject to get caught up in a drive-by. Y'all not gonna know. And in the great scheme of things, I've been trying to understand how we have gotten so lost. How even in the church, we seem to not even be trusting God. Right. We say all the good stuff. I'm blessed and I'm highly favored. I'm too blessed to be stressed, and all the while you sitting around popping nerve pills and tranquilizers, trying to calm your nerves. But I submit to you that the situation is perfect. Hallelujah. The situation right now is perfect. The pot is boiling over. The stove is piping hot. But right now in this season, we are perfectly positioned for movement of God. Y'all don't hear me. You've gotten yourself hyped up about what's going to happen the 1st of November. You've registered and you've done your due diligence and you've checked out the candidates. But I submit to you that you need to get on your knees and talk to the God of your salvation, because there is no man, no woman walking this earth who's going to rectify all the issues that are going on in this country. Somebody say amen. When I look at the book of Nehemiah, I see very clearly an organized blueprint for the people of God who have decided that they want to be surrendered. Now, before I keep preaching, I need to do a room check. Because the word says, don't cast your pearls before swine. Y'all not going to talk to me. And so I just need to know, is there anybody on this side of the room who truly trusts in the Lord? Is there anybody on this side of the room that truly trusts in the Lord? Is there anybody on this side of the room that truly trusts in the Lord? See, the environment has to be conducive for the word. And so all I'm trying to do is help you set an environment so that you can receive the word that's about to come forth. And so let's do this one more time. Is there anybody in this building who has made up their mind that they will trust in the Lord? Come on, somebody shout, somebody shout. If he is the author and finisher of your faith, come on, shout, come on, shout. Nehemiah in chapter 1 is in captivity. And as he is serving the king, some of his partners show up. And they show up, and Nehemiah, he just wants to know, how are the people back home? And he gets the word that the survivors, they're in captivity. The city is in great distress. The gates and the walls have been burned down, and that everybody at home is struggling. The Bible says that when Nehemiah heard the word about the plight of the people, that he sat down and began to weep. He began to mourn for many days, and he was fasting and praying because what was going on with the people had affected him. Nehemiah is in the palace serving the king. And even though he's in captivity, his position in proximity to the king makes life for Nehemiah to be okay. But because of the condition of the people at home, Nehemiah could not rest or find comfort because the people where he came from were struggling. And I just want you to know, church, that even though many of you are doing okay, God has blessed you beyond measure. You've got more than you could ever ask for. Several cars in your driveway, big homes and meals that you can eat. There is somebody back home that's going through. Nehemiah got the word that home was in a shambles. And even though he lived in a beautiful place, his heart was broken over the tragedy back home. And I want you to look at the very last few words of chapter 1. Nehemiah began to pray for the people back home. Nehemiah began to repent and claim sins of the fathers and the elders, because he knew that the condition of the people back home was directly connected to their disobedience towards God. And church, you've got to understand that unrepented sin will cause God to move eventually. Even in your own family, generational curses are lingering on because nobody's ever claimed responsibility for the transgression against God. And Nehemiah knew that if God was going to do anything, the first thing that needed to happen was that sin needed to be forgiven. Nehemiah was praying and seeking the wisdom of God. He was fasting and laying on his face, and he was mourning. And the very last word of chapter 1 is a powerful word. He said, and I was the king's cup bearer. In our churches, many of us are looking for titles. We want to be preachers. We want to be deacons and trustees. We want to carry keys. But I submit to you that you ought not be worried about your title as much as you're concerned about your position. Because a title only speaks to potential that has yet to be realized. Y'all want to talk to me? There are deacons in our church who haven't read the handbook. There are preachers in our pulpits that were not called by sound of your voice and the perception of being able to move an audience. Y'all not gonna talk to me. But Nehemiah was not a title holder. Nehemiah had a position. And in his position, he faithfully served. And when you're faithful, that gives you favor. Some of us are wondering why we are praying and nothing is happening. And the reason your prayers are going unanswered is because you've not yet been faithful over a few things. But Nehemiah was cupbearer to the king, which means everything that the king would drink, Nehemiah had to taste it first. And if Nehemiah kicked over dead, that means that the king ought not drink it. And so Nehemiah was not consumed with his title, but he was fulfilled with his position. And because Nehemiah walked in his position, he earned the favor and trust that comes from the king. You can read it later on. And one day Nehemiah went in to serve the king, and the king recognized that Nehemiah was not acting like himself. And he asked Nehemiah, what's going on? What's bothering you? Your countenance seems a little bit down. And Nehemiah said, how is it that you could think that I could be happy when a home is tore up? How can we have joy when right down the street somebody's struggling? How could we eat to the point of being full when we know that in the community across the way some child went to bed hungry last night? I'm going to preach this night. Nehemiah was troubled by what was going on at home. And because he had been faithful in his service, the king gave him authority to go back home. See, you have to want to serve. Amen. When service is in your heart, God will open doors that no man can close. When you have really sold out to the plowshares of this gospel, you might not have enough money in your pocket, but I promise you that God will begin to make ways where there once was no way. Is there a church in this house? And Nehemiah gets the word that he can go back home. And as he goes back home, Nehemiah assesses what's happening. He doesn't just jump right in and start to work, but he plans his work and he works his prayer. Nehemiah shows up because he understands that the enemy have been wreaking havoc on the people back in the community, and he knows that he needs to go and see exactly what's going on. He needs to see where the enemy is hiding out before he begins to start the work. And so Nehemiah goes out under the cover of the night. He leaves all by himself. He doesn't take everybody with him. And some of you have to get this thing. You got too many folk that you try to carry with you. There are some folk that you think are on your side, but they have really been assigned to you by the devil to keep you from fulfilling the mission that God has put over your life. Somebody say yes. And Nehemiah goes out under the cover of night all by himself to look at the condition of the land. And as he's looking at the land, and Nehemiah is plotting and planning. Now hold up, church. Satan is a planner. This is why the devil is eating your lunch. Because you don't have a plan. You're just throwing up prayers all over the place. Don't have a target, and you wonder why the devil is wreaking havoc in your home. Nehemiah had a plan. there complaining, nothing is getting done. I'm talking about you, Tom. I'm not talking about you. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about you. But what I discovered, preacher, is when the people in the house begin to focus on what they can control. We say things like, we need more unity. We need more committed people. We need to be more faithful. We need to tithe more. One problem with every one of those phrases, one word, we. If you would replace we with I, that gives you personal responsibility. You see, you don't have control over the one sitting next to you. You can't make anybody do anything. But when you know that God has called you to serve Him, you know that He's given you an assignment, and you stop looking at other folk and complaining about what they're not doing, and you say, God, this is me. I'm going to serve you. Don't care if nobody else show up. God, I'm going to show up. Don't care if nobody else is faithful. I'm going to be faithful. I'm going to be committed. I'm going to worship you. I'm going to give you my all. Yes. Nehemiah was distressed personally over what was going on. And his distress called him to action. Ask your neighbor, say, neighbor, is there anything in your life that would call you to action? Now, I'm not talking about your home, your children, your family. Amen, because we got that me, my, and I syndrome. If it pertains to my house, then I'm going to address it. If it's me and my children, if it's me and my family, my brothers, my sisters. But Nehemiah was troubled over the condition of everybody who was home. Nehemiah goes back, formulates a plan, and as he's beginning the work, God sends help. As he's beginning the work, God sends help. And Pastor, what I discovered in my own ministry is that I don't have time to deal with egos, personalities, attitudes, or dispositions. All I'm focused on is doing the work, and those who want to do the work will show up, and those who don't will stay home. But I made up my mind that I'm going to be committed to doing the work. Nehemiah is sent help to rebuild that which was broken. And as he's building, God is showing him favor. But the enemy is still on the prowl. So Nehemiah identifies the working of the enemy, and he tells those who are building the wall, he says, what I need you to do is keep your tool in one hand and your weapon in the other. Now the reason our churches are going through so much hell is because the saints have laid down their weapons. Amen. Some of you spend more time on Facebook than you do in your Bible. Hallelujah. Somebody say amen. Change the devil. Some of you spend more time on social media and the internet than you do in prayer. You posting pictures trying to make folk think that your life is different than it is. You might as well go and stop lying and let the world know you struggling like the rest of us. Somebody say hallelujah. Nehemiah told them, he said, keep your tool in one hand and keep your weapon in the other. And the enemy, Sanballat and Tobiah and Geshem, they're standing off in the distance and they're watching the people of God. This is where I'm going. And as they watch the people of God, they realize that not only do they have the potential to do the work, they have the ability to complete the work. And the enemy says, what do these feeble Jews think they're going to do? Do we think that they'll rebuild the walls in a day? And then they begin to harass the people of God. But Nehemiah just kept on building. Kept on working. And the enemy was so messed up by how well the work was going that he showed up on the work site. Now put a pin right there just for a minute. Don't you assume everybody sitting in church is saved. Some folk have been sent to the church by Satan to see what they can do to hinder the work. I'm going to preach it anyway. Amen. Make your neighbor mad and say, neighbor, is he talking about you? Wait for him to answer. Wait for him to answer. Some folk in the church, no matter what direction the pastor want to go in, they got a problem. Pastor make one decision